Earth debate live. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe. Hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live, and there's also a coffee, Patreon, crypto and thanks button in the info box below the video. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel, so please share the show on Facebook and X. Now we are joined by, click OK, Neil, and a whole bunch of people in the Flat Earth Debate Discord server, so welcome one and all.
Good morning, everyone.
Yeah.
Good afternoon, guys.
Get it on.
Good afternoon, good to be here. Everybody had a good few days off? Oh, okay, well, that's a keen answer.
Yes, Nathan, we had a great time.
I think my microphone's working now.
Yes, it is, Craig. Excellent timing. Let's see how great your input is right at the beginning of this live show. How are you?
I'm good. Not sure why my button on my keyboard's not working for the mic, though, but we'll have to do it manually.
That's fascinating. So fascinating right at the beginning of the live show. So I'm glad we all had a good couple of days off, because I haven't been doing the live stream for the last couple of days as I've been down in Dorset. And thanks to Ian Leahy for having me. And thank you everybody else who joined in yesterday and handed over you £5 English to sit and listen to me babbling on about Flat Earth. So big shout out to all of you. Thank you very much for having me. Fun was had by all. Although I am absolutely knackered now. So aside from that, and a couple of days of not having a live stream, it was all very good. So hopefully there'll be a probably pretty rough around the edges recording of it that'll go out on the Flat Earth social YouTube channel. So be here or be sphere in a couple of days. I'm told by the guy who put the event on, he'll just put like I say, it's just from his camera phone, so don't expect any super high quality. But yeah, that'll go out on his channel in a few days' time when he gets an opportunity to upload it. If you did want to see a kind of semi idea of what it was like to be a part of it, which you probably won't get from the video. But yeah, check it out. So that's why I've had a couple of days off. But apart from being very exhausted, we're back on track, live again. Everyone's happy. Unless there's something that I'm unaware of. My hint to carry on the discussion that was in the pre-show about whether or not people are shills. Whether or not it's important.
How is Earth measured, Nathan?
Earth's measured flat, Neil.
And that's the bottom line. I don't care what shill is what. We know what the measurements are.
You there, Casey?
Sorry?
Neil's saying, how is Earth measured? And I'm answering, Earth is measured flat. And now I'm asking if you're around.
Yeah, it's too easy. I can't believe it.
Too easy. Can't believe it. Why not?
Well, the word sea level should speak volumes. It's level.
Yeah, there's a list of things that you can't say if you're a baller. I don't know the full list, but if One Deck was here, he'd be rattling off his list of these are things that you just cannot say if you're a baller. All of which are in reference to planes and Earth being flat and descriptions that could only be associated with a flat plane that they have to utilise to assert that they're on a sphere. All roads lead to a flat Earth.
Yeah, they've changed the model from flat into spherical, but they haven't changed the language, which is good because words have meaning, and level still means level. Just because they have a a ball model with water attached to it, it doesn't mean anything. Level is still level.
Yeah, and deriving the ball in its claim of being something you can stand on comes from those measurements.
Yeah, it's in the language. Elevation angles.
Yeah, elevation, as in how high, with respect to surface level part of the angle that you're measuring. Yeah, it's all tied up in how Earth must be measured, and it's part of the convoluted process of getting a globe involved when you're doing these projections of maps. But somehow we're pigeonholed into having to explain the cartography of Earth. When you become a flat earther, somehow that's some charge that you have to accept. All right, I'm now responsible for cartography. Am I? Why? Isn't there a massive deception to convince us that we've projected the world we measured flat onto a ball and then back out onto a cylinder and back out flat so we can call it the world with a square grid on it? Well, why does that distorted nonsense gaggle screw of mapping somehow become my responsibility when I point out that it's a nonsense and that it's only a flat map because that's how it must function with the angle measurements and that's its origins in the first instance? Somehow I've got to come up with a good map for you. Like, go to the people who've produced the maps and tell them how wrong they are. Why would I suddenly have the charge of cartography just because I've appreciated where the distortions are in the maps? Suddenly I've got to make one. No. I can point the floor out all I like and I've got absolutely no obligation to suddenly come up with a replacement. That's the main problem with flat earthers. They think that the straw men feast of nonsense arguments that they get presented every day are somehow their responsibility to satisfy with an answer. Just because you're being told that you've got an ice wall or asked why a boat disappears over the horizon doesn't mean it's in any way your burden to satisfy. When you start recognising that at the tip of the spear in this discussion, you realise that debating with somebody about what they've told you believe the world is, merely so they can beg the question of Earth being sphere-shaped in their side of their false dichotomy that they must have you make a claim about, and if you don't make one, they'll give you one. Here's your straw man Earth that's flat that you adhere to if you say those words. Now let's stack that up against my begging the question fallacy of a sphere Earth that we'll assume is the case when we start making examples that assume we're on a sphere, and we'll see which one works out best. Meanwhile, nobody from my recollection, I'm not drunk by the way, I'm just tired, is claiming anything about the horizon. When it came to flat Earth up until the last 2 or 3 years, we didn't have a positive claim about the horizon. In recent times we have. It's got sod all to do with my boats disappear. My point is, why defend a claim that you're not making? It just means you give them an opening to stack it up in false dichotomy with their begging the question fallacy. The antithesis of that, the pinnacle of that, rather, is the final experiment. Shout out to Quantum Eraser who pointed out something I hadn't picked up on. So what I've been describing the final experiment is as a begging the question fallacy, which is masked by an affirming the consequent fallacy, which is also masked by a false dichotomy fallacy. Now pause, because that's where QE's interjection comes. Now that is strictly correct, but I've missed a slight nuance that QE said that I hadn't picked up on until he said it yesterday on his show. So check out QE's Quantum Eraser live stream from last night. It was really good. And one of the things he said was, it's not just one affirming the consequent fallacy. That's if Earth's a sphere by antipodal assumption, we'll observe a 24-hour sun. We observe a 24-hour sun, therefore Earth is a sphere by antipodal assumption. There's a further affirming the consequent, which is what I've just been describing as a false dichotomy with a globe Earth stacked up against a flat Earth. Well, no, the flat Earth has a affirming the consequent also. Yeah? If Earth's flat, we won't see 24 hours of sun in Antarctica. We don't see 24 hours of sun in Antarctica, therefore Earth is flat. And the contrapositive can exist on both sides of the false dichotomy. So it's actually two false dichotomies. Sorry, I keep saying false dichotomy. It's two affirming the consequent fallacies side by side, aka a false dichotomy. But not just one, not just if Earth is a sphere by antipodal assumption, then 24-hour sun. 24-hour sun, therefore Earth a sphere by antipodal assumption. It's also the flat Earth on the other side of the false dichotomy that's got the same exact if P then Q, Q therefore P statement attached to it. So shout out to you, QE. I hadn't recognised that, and it's so obvious now you've said it. Anybody else catch QE's show last night?
I hate that issue,
You're breaking it, man.
but I
Bloody hellfire. Anybody else see QE's show last night?
sorry.
Don't leave me hanging. Surely one of you watched.
I was on it.
Oh, hello, Flatsy. Yes, you were indeed on it. Yeah, you were.
Hello.
QE was very rude to you at one point.
What's new?
Were you just a bit vague about a particular individual and he was really sarcastic about it? I mean, he was right, but that's how QE gets away with it, isn't it? Cheeky sod.
Yeah. I shouldn't have been so vague.
Yeah, it's a good show. I enjoyed it. I didn't actually watch it live. As I arrived home, I turned it on and it was still streaming. So I'm like, oh, there's something gone wrong here. So my first action, as soon as I walked through the door most, was to tell QE, your stream's still running when you think you've ended it. So he had like 5 minutes of black screen at the end. So then I went back and watched it. Or at least a good chunk of it. Maybe the first hour and 10, 20, something like that. I know it was a lot longer than that.
Yeah, another thing that we went over that was pretty significant is that they're attributing flat Earth with the AE map. So that we simplified it even further down to they're trying to debunk like a globe with another globe, pretty much.
Or I actually say it the other way around. So while, yes, the azimuthal equidistant projection of a globe is a globe projection, but the orientation of those rings is still derived from a north and south angle measurement of points in the sky, aka flat plane required, antipodal or otherwise. Now, that projection, when it's a azimuthal projection, projects the south out in such a vastly distorted way that it even creates what is we are led to believe is an island called Antarctica around the outside edge, because it's North Pole centric. Well, the south point in a separate system that's been made and created with angles off a flat plane, same as the north has, you can't project to the very outside ring without massive distortions of everything, which is what you get. That's why you get Antarctica as an outside edge ring, because that's the only thing you can do if you're plotting the North Pole centric system as accurately as they would allow us to have, it would seem, with various different time distortions, but also a south system which would be separate and on a separate circle around the outside ring of the original North Pole system. I mean, it's a right cluster screw. But they're now suggesting that the azimuthal equidistant projection, as described by me in its distorted garbage manner, is actually the world that we all adhere to, therefore representative of a flat Earth. But I would still ultimately suggest that in order to create an azimuthal equidistant projection, you need those concentric rings. Projecting them to the outside edge or North Pole centric semi-accurate doesn't alter the fact that those are all rings coming from flat Earth measurements, regardless of how messed up you can project it. So to say that they're both globe it's a globe versus a globe, I would say, with a little bit of explanation as I've just given, that it's the other way around. The globe comes from flat Earth angle measurements, and so does the azimuthal equidistant projection. The fact that there's a globe in between, getting from flat Earth angle measurements for two concentric circle-based systems, north and south, to a globe, to the azimuthal equidistant projection, as opposed to the circles being projected just around the globe through the equatorial plane with the celestial sphere around them. But both of those are flat systems. So it's a flat Earth originating system in the form of a globe-shaped model, and a flat Earth originating system in the form of a globe projected onto a azimuthal equidistant system. But they're both originating in flat Earth, not globe. So I would have given my 2 pennyworth if I'd have heard that, and I was there. Unfortunately, I wasn't, to keep you all in line. So QE had the run of the roost on his own show. I mean, it's only reasonable, I suppose. "70 people watching. Woohoo! Please share the show." The only reason we've got 70 people watching is because there's a fair few people who share the show regularly. As a consequence, we've got 70 people. So, very warm welcome if you've just joined us. We haven't long been streaming. But if you haven't shared the show, please smash the share button. It's only a couple of links. And you've got your link to this show on Bebo or MySpace or whatever it is you like. Also, shout out to Goldie, who's gifted a membership. Thank you very much indeed for all this support, Goldie. I really appreciate it. Not that you're not supportive anyway, about as long-standing as they come, but thank you for gifting out all these memberships. Any other news?
I didn't get one.
Sorry, Neil. Any other news? Anything else happened over the last couple of days, and indeed the weekend? Wow. This has been really dead then. Hey, One Deck. One Deck got a mention.
Not really. It hasn't been that dead. You know, the ballers have come in the last couple of days. But I couldn't say what happened. The person that engaged with them was Righteous Force, so he's not here. But he had some movement of ballers again.
Okay. Anything exciting?
I couldn't tell you.
Okay. Well, then don't, I guess.
I can tell you.
Well,
Okay.
I wasn't allowed to engage with them. I was muted several times. I gave up. I just moved on with my life, you know. I don't have time to be engaging with these people, mainly if I'm being muted. You know, when you have a glober telling a flat earther that the horizon doesn't rise to eye levels, I mean, what can I say? The baller is right.
What can you say? The ball is right.
The baller saying that the horizon doesn't rise to a eye
You say
level.
you agree.
Yeah, he's right.
You agree. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and you agree. Yes, and you're correct too. But and further to that, why would you get muted after that?
Yeah, because someone here was saying that it does rise.
I see. So what you're saying is there's a flatty that wants to argue that the horizon does rise to eye level, and there's a baller that's saying it doesn't. And because you're saying, no, I agree with the baller, the moderator's chosen to allow the incorrect flat earther to make his argument in favour of yours. Therefore, you got muted, correct?
You got it.
And where was this? When did this happen? Where and when?
Here during the weekend.
Sorry, say that again.
So it happened here on the FED yesterday and the day before, at least.
Anyway, did you take this up with Righteous? I was just scanning through the Discord server to see if he's here, but he's not. Did you take it
The
up
man
with him?
himself.
Did you take it up with Righteous?
Yeah, it was with him. He's the man.
Oh, okay. Fair enough.
Righteous is the one that muted him.
Oh, really? It's his server.
Exactly.
Very interesting. Well, I'm not getting involved in this. Although I have literally just put it out on a live stream. Some dissension in the Discord ranks, it would seem. I think they got to him. Is he the Borg now?
No, he says that he's due to perspective. I understand what he's trying to say, but in reality, the horizon is surface level. The surface level stays at surface level, doesn't rise.
Yeah, the surface doesn't rise, you rise, and your resolution loss decreases. That is to say, you increase the resolution as you increase the angle to the surface so you can see further. But the surface itself is still below you, and increasingly below you as you raise. And the surface is what's forming the horizon. Therefore, to say the horizon, which is formed with the surface, is raising with you, is as stupid as saying the surface rises with you. It doesn't. I mean, it can be perceivably rising with you as your resolution loss decreases. That is, you increase resolution as you widen your angle with altitude. But that's all you're doing. It doesn't mean that the surface rises up with you. The surface is always below you.
Yeah, we travel on the surface mainly.
Yeah. And what is that surface called again, George? Surface what now?
Surface level.
Surface level? Oh, right. Yeah, it's a fundamental premise that everybody's using, even if they're on a ball. Outrageous, really. So somebody emptying our
It's been in
bins.
our face all along. It's been in our face all along. Sea level, it's a measurement of how the earth behaves or how the water behaves. It should speak volumes on its own.
Well, most of the prerequisite flat Earth measurements that have been utilised over the years to claim ball, including parallel eye level and surface level, slipped us by initially, didn't they? So, you know, the fact that they were so brazen as to use all of these flat Earth measurements in their arguments, we didn't notice. I mean, it seems so obvious now we're pointing it out, but literally, we didn't notice initially. We just let them use surface level to derive the curve that they're claiming in orthographic view is the physical hill blocking your view. But we didn't spot that they're using surface level to do it, did we? Shout out to TVH. Hello, Nathan. We all miss you. Oh, thank you. It felt like you were gone for too long. Oh, this is so heartfelt. Thank you. Now you are back. It feels fantastic, Mr. Legend. I'm blushing, TVH. Thank you so much for the kind words. I'll give you a little heart. Thank you very much for the super chat. And the sentiment. We may cover a video tomorrow. There's a suggestion of a video that we could cover, but it was completely unwatched by Mush. So he suggested a video he'd just come across that's calling me and various other people frauds. But if he's not actually vetted it and watched it himself, I'm like too fussy these days. So it's going to be a catch-up show where we catch up with what's going on over the last few days. One Deck, are you there yet? Joined and buggered off.
Yeah, Nathan, I am. Nathan, I'm
Yeah, you're breaking up either
driving.
way. You're breaking up, One Deck. When
Yeah,
you get a
okay.
second. When you're free, we'll get your list as it was discussed in the pre-show. A couple of people got
Yeah, I should be able to give you. I'll be pulling up in 10-15 minutes, so I'll give you a shout.
Okay, perfect. So yesterday when I was glad handing the participants, I had several mentions of people who are on the show with their specific things that they've done. Well, so I say several, it was two. One Deck and Brian got mentions by a couple of different people in terms of what they say. One of the things that was specifically mentioned was One Deck's list of things that ballers can't say. So that was brought up to me in person. And pitch data. So one of the participants was a pilot. Should I mention which? I won't say which airline because he might not want that out. In any event, he was a pilot and explaining various different aspects of his piloting. And one of the things I asked him was if you were to just start talking about the subject that you're interested in now when you were a pilot, would that have been frowned upon or would you have got sacked? And he said yes. I mean, he wasn't quite as concise as that, but he basically said yes. And the reason he gave was because the perception of any airliner is that you sort of uphold the squeaky clean image of the airline, and engaging in things, regardless of if they're right or wrong, like flat Earth, is just frowned upon generally, or perceived to be frowned upon, therefore would be frowned upon if you were to do it or engage with it as a pilot. Therefore, yes, you would ultimately lose your job over something like that if it suddenly leaves whatever the airline is in a questionable light, because they're having questions like this posed around what is just a business, right? So yeah, he was quite upfront about the fact that no, you wouldn't be wanting to talk about this subject if you're a pilot in any way, shape, or form. It could definitely result in you losing your job. So I thought that was interesting. But a different chap as well was keen to mention about pitch data. And the one was very, very keen to say that, look, Brian's really, really on something here. You need to focus on this. It's as important as elevation angles and celestial navigation and black swan. And I'm adding that. He didn't say that, but I'm sort of stressing it in the way that he was keen to make me know that Brian's onto something with this. So I actually chatted with him about Brian earlier this morning. So yeah, just interesting. And he did. The guy I was talking to wouldn't take it when I fobbed him off either. So he's like, "Yeah, this pitch data, Brian's really onto something with this." I'm like, "Yeah, it's a really good proof. Yeah, really excellent." And he was like, looked me in the eyes like, "No, you need to give this more focus." In other words, he let me know that me just saying, "Oh yeah, it's a wonderful argument," wasn't quite enough. The point hadn't been made satisfactorily to the standard of the guy that was saying this to me. Although Brian didn't gloat about it, much to I'm sure Brian's delight. As it's something he's very much been focused in on at the moment. Another shout out to Goldie for the super chat. She says, "Can we expect new Omi TV sometime soon? I arrived late. Sorry if you already said." No, I haven't said anything about it. I did it heavy and fast and sort of burned the candle at both ends initially, Goldie. So I have no intention of doing that on a non-stop basis. But yes, there will inevitably be more of them. It's just not going to be what I've done to sort of develop them as a standard that I've got on the channel by pumping out quite a few back to back. Even then, I left days in between each session. But no, I'm not going to do them to that degree. But yes, you'll definitely get more Omi videos. I just don't know when. As I'm absolutely exhausted, it won't be tonight, that's for sure. But yeah, I'm glad you're enjoying them. You leave lots and lots of positive comments on every single one of them, Goldie, and I really appreciate them. The positive comments and the response that is generally the same across the board. There's tiny 1% exception to that. But yeah, there's nothing but positivity about the Omi videos, and I'll definitely produce more of them. So yeah, look out for those. Thanks for the super chat. What else? We're only halfway through the live stream. Must be other things that we need to chat about. Other than, Brian and his response that he was getting from the audience. He's obviously making his impact, which is good. Another guy was really, really knowledgeable about all the arguments. So there was one guy that I'd call like a super fan or whatever. He knew every argument. And I was discussing various arguments on the exact same level as him. He and I were on a similar level till we got to the slope-intercept formula. And he started rattling it off to me. And I thought, I'm not actually that well versed in this argument. This is one of QE's that I've heard 6 times, but it hasn't been the full 10 yet. And he knew it better than I did. And I even said to him, I was like, I'm a little bit intimidated here. You know these arguments better than I do. So, with a smile, it really did raise a wry smile while this guy was, like I say, in one particular aspect of this argument, more advanced than me. I was a little bit taken aback, and he's a very unassuming guy. Adam knows him. He's been out on the road with Adam, actually. I'll see if Adam can jog my memory as his name, because I can't remember his name. Bugger, he was the first guy I spoke to as well. But nevertheless, it might have been Brian or Barry or something like that. Nevertheless, there was people there with exceptional understanding of these arguments. Or at least one.
Nathan,
Yes.
we don't go over that enough, and we should.
Say again.
We don't go over slope-a-dope enough.
we don't go over slope-a-dope. That's the slope-intercept formula. That's what I'm talking about. Yes, we don't. Because, you know, it's one of those arguments that, while I do understand the argument, I get the principle. I haven't heard it enough times for me to incorporate it into my repertoire. And it's just, it's not that I haven't given it attention or don't think it's a good argument. It's just hasn't become part of the repertoire. So yes, you're absolutely correct. We should cover it more. But I'm not, I wouldn't be sufficient in doing that. That's my point. That guy, in that, if that subject had come up, I'd have been better off dragging him up on stage to do that bit of the presentation. Do you know what I mean? So in that respect, we need, hopefully QE will join the show and do it on this show with me. You know what I mean?
I agree, because I understand it when QE's breaking it down, but I can't argue with it. Just enough.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I think there's more meat on that bone.
Sorry for the long pauses. There's, for whatever reason, there's a whole bunch of bins being emptied right outside my window. It's like it's a non-stop stream of bins, wheelie bins going past, making an absolutely horrendous noise. So, my bad. But yeah, there's going to be a couple of videos to catch up on once they've been vetted, and we'll do that tomorrow. And like I say, today will be a catch-up show. Is there any individuals that needed addressing that have brought things up in the last 4 or 5 days? No direct responses. Nothing about Antarctica. Has it really been a slow last few days then?
I'm sick of Antarctica.
Well, we've covered it till we're blue in the face. It's an affirming the consequent fallacy. There's nothing more we can do about it. We've called it for not being science. Brian's attitude, I discussed this also with Brian earlier today, in regards to, this isn't a new opinion, by the way, he's already said this plenty of times. The whole it's not science is a red herring. You know, the main objective is to get us tied down to a strawman flat earth model for the false dichotomy. And so long as that happens, once there's people down in Antarctica, regardless of the outcome, you've got 2 people both holding and affirming the consequent fallacy. One with a strawman model that we've told is our flat earth, actually a globe projection derived from flat earth measurements, and their version, which is also a globe derived from flat earth measurements. So the whole, look, this isn't an experiment thing. Brian's of the opinion, and I'm probably inclined to agree with him, that that's the red herring that just there to chase down. Does anybody know, I found this out the other day, where the term red herring comes from? From fox hunting. So what they do to train the dogs is you want to keep the dog on the scent of the fox. So in order to train them, they drag red herrings, which have got a particular scent, across the track that they want the dog trained in. So they collect, as disgusting as this sounds, foxes and fox urine, and they basically will drag that along behind someone at the front of the pack when they're training the dogs to create a scent trail, and then they'll drag red herring across the trail to a different location. The dogs don't follow the wrong trail. They stick to the trail and ignore the other strong scents. Right? Make sense? And then if they're actually on a hunt and they go, one of the dogs happens to display that behaviour, that is to say, follows the wrong scent, the huntsman would say he's following a red herring. Make sense? That's where you get the sort of etymological reasoning behind calling it a red herring fallacy. Following along a track that's not the track you're supposed to be on. They've tossed a red herring into the argument that's not related for you to chase down. Make sense? Learn something new every day. Fascinating stuff.
Indeed.
One of the other things I was talking to one of the guests about was my kind of conflict of interest that stands in 2024 with the Black Swan. I can't remember which particular guest I was discussing this with. I tried to glad hand everybody. But yeah, there's a bit of a conflict of interest, which I've been aware of. It's just never been verbally discussed with anybody before, which is to say that the premise that is a foundation, don't get me wrong, we wouldn't be where we were, sounding drunk again, we wouldn't be where we are if it wasn't for the Black Swan putting down the foundation that debunks their original assertion of an Earth curve edge horizon. Once you've eradicated that, you can move on, and celestial navigation then sits on top of that, because they're always going to have their positive claim. It's always going to need overcoming, and if you haven't, you can't move forward. So it is foundational. Just want to get that out of the way first. But it is in contravention to my stance, which is to say that on the front foot, we should move forward with our positive claim of Earth being measured flat. Well, the Black Swan is in direct contradiction of that. It's a modus tollens that starts with their assumption of Earth being a sphere. So it literally, to start with the Black Swan is to beg your opponent's position for them. To then undo it, admittedly. But as we all are aware, if we have a good understanding of the Black Swan, it's not a flat Earth proof. You can utilise it to, employ an extra step after the Black Swan. There is a condition that has not been met, which leaves you with only one possible outcome in terms of the Earth and its flatness, if there is no curvature, as asserted. Then your alternative is the derivation and the maths, and you can infer that after the Black Swan in regards to Earth being flat. But you can't directly suggest that the Black Swan itself, in the form it takes with modus tollens, is a flat Earth proof. It isn't. It's a debunking of the assertion in the first instance in the P statement, if Earth's a sphere. Well, me saying if we're going to move forward as debaters on the front foot, proactively in this arena, flat Earth versus globe Earth, as it's perceived, there isn't really a debate, then we are on the front foot if we are suggesting our positive claim to our opponent. Earth is measured flat. Not, if Earth was a sphere, we would be seeing a distance to horizon as x, and we're not seeing the distance to horizon as x, therefore Earth isn't a sphere, by pure logical inference after showing that it can't be. But if it's not a sphere as asserted, and we have no Earth curve edge, it can only be the flat Earth that's used to measure and infer that with the calculations, therefore Earth is flat. Added on as an inference after the fact. Very different to just saying Earth's measured flat. Because it is. And everyone requires it to be. Go ahead.
Oh, it's just a bigger ball. It's still a sphere, though. Locally flat.
I don't know why Jaron and Dave Weiss have taken this position, but it does sound very shilly, as regardless of whether or not I see them as being shills or just average Joes, and regardless of anybody else's perception of Jaron and Dave Weiss and anybody else for that matter, that's punting our current opponent rhetoric. Right, if Earth is measured flat, but I need to assume it's a ball, then you can suggest that yes, we measure Earth flat, but only because it's a really big ball. End quote, baller. What do I currently tell my audience? Just pay attention to what they've actually just told you. Earth is measured flat, but I can still believe in my zealotry religion of a globe Earth that isn't being measured when we measure it flat and assume it's a big ball, saith the Globers. So when Jaron and Whitsitt and David Weiss say, could be a really big ball, geocentric Earth with ether, okay, so you're just supporting and affirming our opponent's position. If you ever wanted to sound like controlled opposition, that's how you go about it. I'm not saying they are. I'm just saying that it sounds and seems very shilly when the people who are supposed to be at the forefront of flat Earth are telling you, like our opponents tell us, that it could be a big ball with Home Depots all around it. What Home Depots that are measured flat? So there's no useful ball being measured, just an assumption after measuring Earth flat then. Like the Home Depot surface is definitely being measured and built flat. Yeah, that's the bit that's measured though, isn't it? So why would Jaron, a flat earther, need to tell his audience that we're on a big ball? Well, like I say, I'm not inferring that he is a shill, but that's very shilly. Let's be honest. He's telling you what the opponents tell us. It's just a really big ball. It's okay to measure flat. Because it's a really big ball, we wouldn't need to measure it ball-shaped. We can measure it flat. It just means it's a big ball, I assume. says Jaren and Dave. What the hell?
Hey, Nathan.
Hello, One Deck.
It's worse than that. Yeah, go ahead.
Just saying, even when they get to explain how it's measured flat, they will be using flat Earth measurement words, which I'm not allowing them to do now.
What would those words be?
Well, I've got a little note. I read to them, and then I see where it goes. And this is the note. It's 24 words, not allowed to be used when explaining how Earth curve is measured. Sea level, horizon, horizontal, parallel, plumb, perpendicular, elevation, angles, triangles, sea sextant, theodolite, spirit level, altitude, vertical, tangent, straight line, up, down, plane, and flat. 24 words, and that's that. You can't use these unless you're explaining flat.
Right.
You need to add one more.
They violate
Ground
everyone.
position. Yeah, I need to put ground position, not just GP, because the GP comes on the almanac. Yeah, you know the ground position of the stars because it's in the almanac. At this time of the day, this is the ground position. X marks the spot. Longitude, latitude. Yeah, you need to put that there as well.
Yeah, we can add that one, George. No problem.
So ground position is geographical position, correct?
Yes. Shout out
Obviously.
to LJ. Says, why don't you get on modern day debate? Good exposure. Because I run my own debate show, LJ.
Thing is, Nathan, as well.
Thank you for the super chat.
Modern day debate is for a bunch of losers.
Carney, there is literally, this is about the 6th wheelie bin that has gone by me when there's only 2 next to me. I'm almost tempted to lean out the window and go, what the hell are you doing constantly wheeling wheelie bins back and forth?
Hey, Nathan.
Hello.
Do it.
Nathan, can you hear me?
Yes, hello, Ian. Thanks for having me yesterday.
No, fuck off. I'm really pissed off with that text you sent me. What the hell are you doing? What the hell are you writing to me fucking saying all that for? Seriously. Why? Because what, Nathan? Because I 2 Globers snuck in, which we've never seen before. They went to the back, and when it was question time, they had the mic for 30 seconds longer than you wanted them to at my place.
Let me get it straight. Have you joined a live stream to moan at me about a gripe I had with the way that you run your show? You've joined my live show to moan at me about this, correct?
Yeah, you called me a shill. You called me.
I did not say you were a shill. Now you're lying on my live show about what I've said.
Well, do you want?
No, you're airing this gripe that I've had with you on a live stream and telling me how pissed off you are to my audience. What are you doing? Why are you here? If you want to discuss a gripe with me that I've had with you, you can do it with me in private. You don't need to join my live stream and rumpus the living crap out of me. What are you doing?
Live stream because you.
Why are you rumpusing me? You're not listening to me. You're talking through me like you run this show, like you failed to run your show adequately. Now I'm going to moan at you about that in private. But if you're going to join my live stream and try and take over and chant through me, I'm not going to allow that to happen, Ian. You can either listen to what I'm telling you or get lost. You're not going to just chant through me. I'm still talking.
Do I get a chance to
I'm still talking and I run this show, Ian.
Okay.
Yeah, don't be disrespectful when I run the show. Just because you were incapable of running your event to a satisfactory standard that I moaned about doesn't mean you get to come on my live show and moan at me about how I've moaned at you. If you want to discuss it with me in private, you're welcome to. What the hell are you doing coming on my live stream bitching and moaning about how I've bleated to you about something you're inadequate doing? That's something I discussed with you in private. What are you doing here?
You removed me from the group, you belly.
You've got my private Skype information. You can discuss this with me in private. What are you doing, man?
Because I don't think you have the right to tell me what the fuck you told.
I am telling you whatever the hell I like in private, and you've joined my live show to air your dirty laundry here. What are you playing at, man? Yeah?
The fact you removed me from the groups is the reason I'm here, okay? Otherwise,
I don't care. You can bleat and plead your case about my group that I'll remove whoever the hell I like from in private.
Really?
Yeah, I'll do as I damn well please. It's my bleeding group. Like you can do what you please with your group when you're hosting. You're in charge of that group yesterday, and you can do as you please, as you did. Now, as you took charge, I moaned about how you were inadequate in your charge of your group. Now, what I do in my group is my bleeding responsibility, not yours. Now, if you want to bleat about this, you can do it in private, not on my bloody live show.
How do I do it in private, Nathan?
You can do it in private. That's not on a live stream. That means get lost and contact me in private.
I won't be.
Don't stutter on my live show. How dare you come on my live show? Because I've moaned at you in private about your inadequacies. Yeah, I have. Yeah, your failures got moaned at and displeased me greatly. Now you want my live audience to know how much you've displeased me that I told you in private? Yes, you have displeased me with your crappy behaviour and how you run your event. And yes, I did moan about it. Yeah, and I will. I've got every right to, being put to great inconvenience by you. So yeah, I'll moan about it all I bleeding like on my show. No, I didn't intend to. I've had nothing but good words to say about you. I had nothing but positivity, and now you've come and bleated at me because I've had a little gripe at you. Yeah, I have.
Tell them, Nathan, about the shill calling me a shill.
Is it just me, G plus panel? Is it just me, G plus panel, or are you not hearing what I'm saying?
I'm trying to talk through you.
Yeah, you are. Yeah, you are. So you're going to disrespect me on my own bleeding show now?
Kick him the fuck out.
Excuse me, why are you disrespecting me on my own bleeding show? Yes, you can take charge of what you want to do in your event. This is not that anymore, you disrespectful little man. How dare you?
How dare you fucking write to me?
Don't swear at me. Right, you're getting lost. How dare you? Come here bleating because I've had a little gripe about how crap you are. What a bleeding outrage. I had nothing but good comments to say to this audience. Did anybody get any impression that I had anything but positivity about the event that had just taken place up until that point?
No, everything was good, but I understand what's going on.
Well, I raised a concern with him. And when his answer to my concern was not in the slightest bit apologetic, I was like, oh, sod this. But I'm not in the slightest bit inclined to badmouth people when they've treated me with a bit of disrespect. I'll just moan at them personally. Is this asshole literally now calling me on my phone while I'm running a bleeding live show? That man has absolutely no respect, does he?
Who is it?
So you removed him from G Plus because that's something he should have done personally. I understand everything that's going on.
Yeah. I don't want to discuss these issues with him in a group that I'm running to run my live stream from, to invite people to join from. Absolutely not. Given that he was removed from the group, I'm not exactly entirely sure how he's managed to make his way onto this stream. How did he get the link? Seriously, how did he get the link?
Well, he got on G Plus or he came in Discord?
He's come on G+. He's just come on G+. He's moaning that he's been removed from a group and it's the only place I shared the link. How the hell did he get in here?
Somebody gave it to him.
All right. I see. So my group that I manage because it's mine and I'll control it isn't being controlled by me. Someone else is handing out links to people who've been removed from the group, who then come in and shout and swear at me. Oh, what a shock.
Nathan, there may still be an access to G Plus through Element, so you better check that out.
All right. I don't think so. I share the link, Neil. I only share it in Master B. That's the only place it goes. Anyway, what turned into a very positive description of what took place yesterday, which it was. Again, I can't quite believe this has happened. I had a minor gripe about an aspect of the show and the way it was run, which I've aired my grievances, put them to him, he's responded, I've responded back, then I've got on with my show. The last thing you expect is, right, you've moaned at me for something. Oh, well, I'm going to discuss this moan you've got with me on your live show. What a prick! I cannot believe that's just happened. I am slightly gobsmacked.
I mean, I don't know.
He came in to tell you off.
I mean, I don't know what's happened. It's not my business. But is this to do the social event that you did, Nathan?
Yeah, which I had nothing but positivity until this moment. Yes, I've got a moan. privately with the event organizer, which I'm absolutely entitled to have privately with the event organizer. If I find something that displeases me, I'm going to bloody air it. Absolutely. Does it mean the event didn't go well? No. Did it mean that I didn't enjoy meeting everybody there? No.
Well, there's nothing wrong with a bit of positive criticism, is there, in anything?
Unless you can't handle it. And that seems to be Ian's problem.
Whatever, I don't care.
Hmm.
Yeah, like I say,
Did
these
you
things aren't worth the
disrespect this
aggravation.
show in any way
This is what you
yesterday?
get. This is what you get. This is the kind of aggravation you get. Like, no, it's a massive inconvenience to do it. I've got people who actually care about you lot moaning at me that they've not got what they support me to produce. And then you get the guy who's organised it coming on your live show moaning because you've had a gripe with them. Yeah, I've got a right to have a gripe with you.
Nathan, did you disrespect his show at any point yesterday?
What do you
Or
mean?
whenever it was? Well, he just seemed to totally come on your show and disrespect the whole live show.
Yes. No, I did not do that. No, I respected his guests and the authority he had to run the show however he chose, and I dealt with it as it came. After the fact, privately, there was an aspect that I didn't particularly like and moaned about it. What I did not expect was the reaction that, oh, well, I'm going to come on your live stream and say, how dare you have a criticism. Oh, get lost. No wonder I didn't really want to do it in the first place.
Yeah, he should have dealt with that positive criticism there and then.
Exactly. And when in life, when you're doubting something, don't do it.
No, I don't regret doing it. Don't give the wrong idea. I don't regret it. And I enjoyed it. I enjoyed meeting the people. I enjoyed talking to every single one of them. I sat down with the majority of them, 80% at least, before the event, and welcomed them, found out their story, found out their name, and then joked that I would pick on them when I was doing a presentation, which I didn't do with any of them. So, you know, the actual meeting and greeting, the main reason I agreed to do it in the first place is because so many people support me, and you feel I should be supporting a community that I'm a part of by giving back and letting people actually have the ability to come and meet me in person. If they've given me this much support, then that, you know, the one or two people that are big fans of the show that were there, it would have meant a lot to him. One guy came up to me and wanted a photograph with me. You're like, what? You want a photo? Oh, fine. Yeah, if you want a photo with me, that's absolutely fine. But, you know, that obviously is something that guy wants. He wants to be in my company to have a photograph. It meant something to him. And I'm glad that I could give that to that guy and anybody else who felt the same way. For the majority of them, they're kind of indifferent. It doesn't matter if it's me or the next man in line. You know what I mean? But for the small percentage of people that are like, no, I am really keen to go and actually shake your hand and say I've met you. You're like, glad you have that opportunity. So it's no regrets as much as I'm sure as much as these things happen in the moment and I'm moaning about it happening on a live stream, these things happen amongst us, and Ian is, let's face it, one of us. So here we go again. I'm sure it'll get ironed out, and I'm pretty exhausted. So my disdain and over-exaggeration of my furious rage about this is probably a bit over-dramatic. But nevertheless, I'm just knackered. So these things will sort themselves out. And the overall experience was extremely positive, regardless of him taking the ump with me having a gripe. But nevertheless, you know, these things happen.
Now, what I'm saying is, if something's in the back of your mind saying, yeah, I really don't want to do this, then you should go with the first gut instinct.
Well, I told him that.
That's what
I told him I
learned
didn't
in
want
life.
to do it. I said I don't want to do it. And what I used an excuse because he's a friendly, and you're like, oh, if I just give an excuse, he'll get the hint. I'm like, look, I can't. I say it's an excuse, and it's absolutely true. I was like, I can't afford to not do my live stream as much as, you know, it is the case that, you know, Sensual Goat gifting out 5 memberships is why I run the live stream. As much as it might sound mercenary, I need the money. So I have to, first and foremost, keep the lights on. So therefore, taking time out and driving down to Dorset wasn't really something I wanted to do, and I made that absolutely clear. But given that it was a financial objection, you know, being offered a cut of the door to cover my expenses and petrol and so on and so forth. And he even covered a hotel that I didn't stay in. I stayed with my parents, and he gave me the money that he would have inevitably have paid for me to stay in a hotel there. So, you know, it's not like he wasn't very generous in terms of making it not a financial loss, which is great. It meant that I could do it without going, God, this is going to be a burden financially. It wasn't. But after he overcame that objection, it's like, well, okay, you've actually overcome the objection that I've given you. So I do kind of feel obliged to give back to the community in that way. I don't often do it. So there, I've done it, you know, and I'm glad I did, you know. So I'm glad it hasn't been a financial detriment. It's only of time detriment and show detriment. But would I do it again? That was a bit negative before you joined the show. Would I do it again? No, I would be reluctant to do it again. Not because of this, you know, don't get me wrong. I've obviously rubbed Ian the wrong way with my message. And fair enough, it's something that he's doing, his personal baby, it's his project, and here's me having a moan. So, you know, I can understand his disdain. I often have the same attitude. But by the same token, it's like, even if that wasn't the case, I'd still be like, I just didn't enjoy doing it. In terms of the amount of aggravation, the amount of driving, the amount of effort and physical and mental input producing a presentation, producing a load of slides for the presentation, and the mental energy that goes into actually doing the glad handing and saying hello to everybody, finding out their name and their history in flat earth and their best arguments that they want to tell you all about and their debates that they've had in past history, and you know, all of that is mentally exhausting. And literally I don't have the time to do it or the financial resources to be capable of doing it in a way that would be fun. It's not nice asking the event organizer to pay you to do it. It's just so you've got enough revenue to cover the fuel costs and things like that. But that's how it's worked out. Now, I didn't enjoy that particular part of it. The best bit of it was actually meeting people, you know, finding out their story. The bit that's all of the energy goes into to just do that one bit, as mentally exhausting as that in itself is as well. That's the actual enjoyment bit, isn't it? The actual meeting the people who were all lovely and all wanted to, you know, keenly listen to what I had said. You feel privileged to be able to do it. So from that aspect, you know, it's definitely a good experience, and I hope that was my first thing that I went through with Ian. I'm like, did they all enjoy it? You know, what was the reaction? What was the guest's reaction? Did they like it? And after I got it clear when the video was going to be coming out and what the reactions were like, then I moaned. You know? But like I say, I had no intention of any of this making it to a live stream.
Yeah, that's very bad business. Sorry. Lost a lot of respect for the man.
Yeah, me too. But there we go. Such is life. Anyway, 105 people watching, lots of people getting free memberships.
In this arena, you need some thick skin. If you don't got thick skin, then get the hell out.
Maybe. I don't want to have thick skin. I'm a very delicate flower.
Well, that's the problem. Delicate flowers, they don't last.
Maybe. Well, I
can't
do have
stand the heat, you shouldn't work in the kitchen.
Yeah.
That's another good place.
Either way, there's always going to be a certain amount of kitchen management, isn't there? Sometimes you have to shout at the chef.
Exactly, Nathan. You're the guy. Who's that guy that runs the show? You're the Gordon Ramsay of flat Earth.
Maybe.
Isn't that nice?
Well, I don't know. People don't see that demeanour when I'm not dealing with fundamentalist zealotry. You only see that side that people think is a bad Gordon Ramsay-ish side when you're getting chanted through, etc., etc. Shout out to the Flat Earth Truth, donating just because the Earth is measured flat. Thank you very much for the super chat.
Who's buying me a membership today? I'm naked here.
Ugh. Got my panel members e-begging for memberships. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to shortly round out this live stream, and then I'm going to have a very short after show and then get some rest, I think.
I was just going to say, get some rest today, and tomorrow everything will be fine.
This is just
It'll
another.
still be a bitch, but it'll be fine.
It's just another day, Neil. This is all part of the course.
Just to go back on them words again, Nathan, I was just trying to explain. It is quite interesting because I'm really enjoying using that approach because it just stops them in the tracks. And I'm fine. It's quite funny because they will start using the terminologies when they're trying to describe a Earth's measured. They will use a lot of them words that I've said they can't use. And it can get a little bit heated. Sometimes it's like I can't tell them what to say and getting pretty angry about it. But I will stop them immediately. As soon as they say a word, I'll stop them in the tracks. And then I have found myself getting, on the other hand, some of the mods in some of the servers don't like it. And I've been muted quite a few times and been told to, stop what I'm doing. Because, they need a chance to talk and it's not fair what I'm doing. But
Hold
I'm
on a
not,
second. They're stopping you because you're stopping them from using words that they're not allowed to use. Oh yeah, that makes perfect sense.
Yeah, well, I'm telling them they can't use them, but it's very. But what it comes down to in the end, and sometimes this happens, and it's great when it happens. I'm telling them you can't use these words. You're actually describing how Earth's measured flat to me. Well, why can't I use these words? I say because you're describing how Earth's measured flat. You shouldn't be using any of these words. These are the words I use to tell you how Earth's measured flat. You shouldn't be using any of these. You need to use curvature words and how curvature is measured. And you're not doing that at the moment. You're not doing very well explaining how curvature is measured. So you can't use these words. But they just keep using them. And it's really funny. But as I say, I've been in politics. I've been booted out of there a few times and told to, give people a chance to talk. So it goes down a little bit like that sometimes. But I'm not stopping doing it.
Fair enough.
Yeah, words have meaning. Zero slope still means zero slope. It doesn't mean slope.
Shout out to Charlie and Cat for gifting a membership, and shout out to Phoenix Rising 86 for gifting 5 memberships. Missed out on all of them, Neil.
Yeah, I'm not on YouTube to retrieve them. Son of a gun.
Neil's under the impression that if you chat when somebody's gifted memberships, you'll pick it up if you're the next person to chat. I don't think that's true, but Neil seems to think it is.
That's how it works. I'm telling you.
Yeah. Neil is like the guy that complains he never wins the lottery, but he never plays.
Right. Yeah, you can increase your chances of winning the lottery significantly if you buy a ticket. But with that, I'm going to say, if you are watching this on either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley premiering streams, then stay tuned, as there will be an after show to follow. Unfortunately, though, if you are watching this live, this is where we bid you farewell. So, another massive thank you to all of you who smashed the super chat, gifted memberships, received memberships. Sorry if I sound drunk, I'm just tired. Liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing, joining as a member, and all that good stuff. I've been Nathan Oakley. Stay tuned if you're watching an after show. Massive thank you to today's Discord and G+ panels. I'll see you all in the next video.